My name is Jeff Henriksen. I am the curriculum leader for PE Health and Driver's Ed. I also double up as the Driver's Ed coordinator. I coach a couple sports here, and I'm the assistant athletic director, so I have my hand in a few things. The purpose of the meeting tonight is to familiarize you with our Driver's Ed program. If you've had a student come through the program before, welcome back. If you're a new parent to a new permitted driver, welcome. The road will be bumpy. All right. The road will be bumpy. All right. The purpose for this is to really acclimate you and get you familiar with some of the things we're going to talk about in the classroom and some of the things we're going to need from you. You grab the middle piece of paper, which is the 50-hour log sheet. Once your student, your child, has their permit in their hands, the real permit, they're able to drive a car. So that when they're driving a car, the person who's sitting in the passenger seat must be 21 years of age or older and have a valid license. So that's why we're saying parents and guardians, please help guide your child as they're learning to drive a car. As you're coming in, grab a GDL book, a rules of the road book, and a 50-hour sheet. We got 43 of us in the call or in the pair deck. If you want to join the pair deck and have this presentation at your fingertips, go to joinpd.com and type in EKWIAK. That code will be present as I'm presenting. Somebody give me a thumbs up, we can go maybe? I got a thumbs up here. I got 2 thumbs up, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm ready to go. So, give me a thumbs up if you can see this on your device if you join PD.com. Awesome, good. Let's keep on going. All right, this is for these directions are here for the students who did not take the permit test at 3 o'clock. If you want to take the permit test now, you're going to go to this site, ilsos.gov, and you're going to type in that access code. If you want to take the permit test while you're sitting here, great. If you want to take the permit test right now, you can go to the student cafeteria in a quiet area and take the permit test down there. No, yes? Or a later date? Okay. It should be on your device if you have it right there in front of you. Any takers are taking it right now, or we're good to go? Okay. If you want to come and have a seat, there's plenty of seating here. Grab a couple items over there, 3 things. GDL book, 50-hour sheet, and rules of the road book. Oops. Again, this is our agenda for tonight. Like I said, 45 minutes or less is my goal. If your child took the permit test at 3 o'clock, that's a great thing. That's just going to make this night move a little quicker. And there was a reason for that. I want to get those permit tests done for them so they can get their permits issued sooner. If we wait another 2 weeks when school starts, it's madhouse over at the DMV. So there's a reason why we try to do it at 3 o'clock and instead of doing it right now. Overview, you're going to hear about the course, you're going to hear about our 4-phase program, you're going to hear about student evaluation, and you're going to hear about the contact information for this course. Like I said, these are our instructors. That's me, Jeff. James Chelson is another one of our instructors. Brian Fisher and Ben Hussey. All 4 of these people up here coach multiple sports. The reason I say that is because... Congratulations.
Awesome. All right, so next week we're going to have the ICANN.
The reason I say that is because when it comes to our behind-the-wheel drive, it's going to be important to know kind of our schedule. So just know that we are the classroom instructors, but we also double up as behind-the-wheel instructors. The teacher who saw you when you were coming in, Miss Bessie, is also a driver ed instructor. We have 11 instructors here at school. If I happen to be your child's driver's ed classroom instructor, that's great. They may do their behind-the-wheel drives with another one of these instructors, Miss Bessie, or the other instructors here we have at Lake Park. So it's important to note when they come to sign up for their drives, to do their behind-the-wheel drives with us, it doesn't have to be with me, it doesn't have to be with Mr. Chelson, Mr. Fisher, Mr. Hussey. If the schedule is open and there's an opening to the drive, have them sign up. If they've got sports or activities, please look at your schedules to make sure you're scheduling your drives appropriately. All right, on your device, you should have a blue dot. And I want to ask you a question right now, really for the parents. How do you feel about your child getting behind the wheel of a car? Here are the keys, see you later. Please go slowly and call me when you get there, or freeze with those keys, as if this is not happening. And you're gonna see our responses momentarily. So again, like I said, in classroom, we use Pear Deck as a means to deliver instruction. Right now, you're obviously playing with the dots, kind of seeing where you're at. So in class, we tell the kids, okay, select your response. I'm gonna lock this screen in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So right now the screen is locked. You got to play with Pear Deck, and it looks like there's a good majority are in the middle, some on the right-hand side, and a couple off the screen, which is totally fine. So that's to be expected. Like I said earlier, if this is your first time having a student driver in the house, there's probably some apprehension and some nerves. It's totally normal. As a behind-the-wheel instructor, we're behind the wheel of the car with those kids, having those same thoughts in our head, but I think we've done enough times where we feel confident in helping them become a proficient driver. And I'll talk more about the 50-hour sheet as it comes to later in the presentation. All right, driver's education is no longer a graduation requirement here at Lake Park. It is an elective. If students take driver's education outside of Lake Park, they would take PE 10 both semesters. That was a recent change in the last couple of years here at Lake Park. We're transitioning to in-person learning. We have 2 parts. We have the classroom phase and we have the behind the wheel phase, which I'll talk about the 4 phases in a few seconds. We'll talk about the driving protocols and how the permit process is going to work is this. Today, most kids, about 146 kids took the permit test. Most all passed. Next Tuesday, 8 o'clock in the driver's ed classroom, I'm going to be giving the eye exam. The eye exam literally takes 10 seconds. If your child wears glasses, they must come to the school with their glasses because we have to select that on the permit application. They'll come to the driver's ed room. I'll look at the Secretary of State's website. Yes, Johnny and Susie passed. Boom, you passed your eye exam. They'll come to school, hopefully, with a check for $20 made out to the Secretary of State or the SOS. If you make it out to me, I'm going to go buy dinner. If you make it out to Lake Park, I'm going to give it right back to you. So please make the check out to SOS or the Secretary of State. On Tuesday, after they pass the eye exam, I'm going to give them their permit application. I'm going to sign that. They're going to sign that. And then ultimately, you have to sign that. So if you're picking up here after the eye exam, I'm going to ask the kids, hey, go get your mom and dad's signature, bring it back. Because they're under 18, we need parents' permission to issue them a permit. I will gather everybody's permit application that has turned one in that day, next Tuesday. I will then drive all the permits over to the DMV's office in Schaumburg. I'll drop them off. Barring a major disaster, I should have those back in my hands probably by Thursday of next week. So kids, students, look for messages on Google Classroom that'll say, hey, permits are at school at these campus, come pick them up. They'll be at the front security queue. You'll go to the front security queue, hey, my name is Joe Smith or Susie Smith, I'm here to pick up my permit. They'll give you your permit, you sign the permit, and you are good to go as a driver. I always tell parents, once that permit's in their hands, or tell the kids, once that permit's in their hands, you can drive away from the school in a car if your parents let you. Remember, it's a privilege, not a right, kids. It's a privilege to drive a car. So please be nice to your parents because somebody probably has to pay for the gas in that car. Somebody probably has to pay for the tolls. So be kind. So they can literally drive away from this campus once they have the physical permit in their hands. The permit in their hands is just like a driver's license. It's a piece of ID. So we ask them to put it in a safe spot. Some kids put it in the sleeve of their cell phone. Some put it in their wallet, their purse. But that permit is valid for 2 years. For 2 years, that permit is good for. Students must have their permits for 9 months before they get their license. But Mr. Hendricks, my parent turned 16 in January. Great, but you still have to have your permit for 9 months, okay? So as soon as they get those permits in their hands, we'll let you know via Google Classroom, hey, come pick up your permits from school, and you're good to go. So the next important date is Tuesday from 8 to 10. If you're not gonna be here because you're out of town or you can't make it, don't worry about it. Message me on Google Classroom and say, hey, Hendrickson, hey, can I come in on Friday at this time because my schedule? No problem. I live pretty close, I can get here in seconds to get the eye exam. But we're going to try to have this window next Tuesday, 8 to 10, to get the eye exam done. If you can't make it, let me know, okay? So next Tuesday, eye exam, check for $20, money order, cashier's check. We prefer not to have cash because then cash gets lost in the shuffle and it's hard to track that. So a check is probably the easiest, made out of the Secretary of State's office or the SOS. Questions? This is what you're going to see next Tuesday where it says parent signature. We're going to ask for your signature, students, and then mine, and then I'll collect all the money and then take that to the Secretary of State's office next week. Program requirements. Prior to taking the course, the student will have had to pass at least 8 classes, be at least 15 years of age or older. The fee for the program is $249. On the right-hand side, pass the permit test and pass the eye exam, and then sign the application. Sounds easier said than done, but I can tell you that the process they just got done doing with the permit test at 3 o'clock was a huge, huge step. So that saved us a bunch of time there. Program overview. Can you guys still see it on your devices? Awesome. You're going to earn half of a credit for PE by taking driver's ed with us. We're going to be taught using differentiated instructional techniques, similar to the one we're doing right now with Pear Deck. We do have guest speakers that come into school from the police department and insurance companies to talk to the kids about insurance and some of the things that police encounter in this area. We're going to be using Google Classroom to post classwork, so if a student is absent, they can still access class coursework via Google Classroom. We're going to talk about sign signals, basic car control, natural laws, maneuvers, negotiating intersections, and sharing the road with others. So these are just some of the broad topics we cover in the classroom phase. Urban roads, driving adverse conditions, aggressive driving, alcohol, tobacco, and drugs, insuring your vehicle, maintaining your vehicle. A question always comes up at the parent meeting. I have a permitted driver. Do my insurance rates go up? The answer should be no, unless your insurance company is, the one that charges. Almost all insurance companies don't charge for permitted drivers. So what you should do when your son or daughter gets their permit, call the insurance company and say, hey, I have a daughter or son who is a permitted driver. They'll add them to the policy, but it shouldn't make your rates go up. Why? Because you're the person that's showing them how to drive. So keep that in mind. Just contact the insurance company, let them know you have a permitted driver. When they turn 16, though, that's a whole different ballgame. Kids, somebody's got to pay for car insurance when you're 16. If you have a job and you're helping pay, great. If your parents are paying, you better be really, really nice to them over the course of the next 18 months because somebody's paying the car insurance. So right now at 15, a permitted driver, you should have insurance rates that go up, but when you turn 16 and you have a driver's license, you got to notify the Secretary of State and the insurance company that you have a licensed driver in the household. And then parents, premiums go up. We talk about premiums in the classroom, so we'll talk about how that gets factored in. So the last year and a half, we weren't in our 4-phase program because of the remote learning. So we're back to being in our 4-phase program. We're one of 4 schools in the state of Illinois that has 4 phases. The classroom, the behind-the-wheel drives, which consists of range, and we have a simulation room. You guys come and sit down. We don't bite. It's okay. So we have a 4-phase program. Like I said, we're one of 4 schools in the state of Illinois that has 4 phases. And really, the 4-phase program helps out the student because the simulation room puts them in situations and scenarios to prepare for driving a real car. The range, which is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days, which is right behind me here, is the other part of the practical application to what we learned in the classroom and the simulation room. So we put those skills to practice on the range. And then after school, we start doing our behind-the-wheel drives, everything gets put together. The reason I make mention about the range being open and available is because on weekends, when the school's not in session, you can use that range for practice purposes. It's lined, it's got angled parking, it's got merging, it's got dash line for lane changing, so I would say make use of the driving range when your child has their permit. There are 2 huge light poles, don't hit those, but we do use the range during the school day, so if you're ever to drive by, you'll see our 8 cars out there doing maneuvers, but I encourage you guys to use the range as a way to practice. If you're not comfortable using the range, I tell you guys to use either your street or your neighborhood where you live, something that's familiar to you so you're not having these unexpected obstructions popping out. So your street, your driveway, sometimes people are close to West Campus. The junior lot, believe it or not, is across the street from the baseball fields. That used to be a driver's ed range, so you can use that lot but a parking lot is sufficient to work on turning radius, to work on angled parking, work on using your mirrors. So I'll talk more about the things you need to know. That's probably most important, but use the facilities here. But we do have a simulation room. We have 15 simulators that provide video simulations, practical driving conditions for kids, and then we practice those skills on the range and ultimately behind the wheel. So we're back to our forward-phase program. And I just said the driving range, these are the things we're trying to accomplish on the range. The one thing that we've noticed over time is turning radius and braking are some of the things that I think students probably need a lot of practice on. So by the time we get on our first range lesson, we're probably about the third or fourth week into school. So hopefully they had some practice between the time they get their permit with you and maybe having a first lesson with us on the range. So these are some of the things that we work on the range. It's a controlled situation. We tell the kids 15 miles an hour or less on the range is very practical. There's not very many obstructions out there except these two huge telephone poles. And while the kids are practicing on the range, the instructors are in that big blue tower providing instruction. So again, another way to provide practical application, and that's using our driving range. It is available to you when school's not in session or on weekends. So our behind-the-wheel drives. During the pandemic, we were up to 6 drives as per the Secretary of State. We're back to our 4 drives that kids have to do. Right now, we used to have 3 kids in the car, but we were back down to 2 per the Illinois Public Health Department and the Secretary of State. Should that change, we'll let you know. But typically, behind-the-wheel drives occur after school. They also occur on Saturdays. We had some Sundays in there during the pandemic because we had 1,000+ hours to drive, but my guess is we're going to have to scale that back and kind of go back to our normal schedule here. So when I say we're leaving after school at 3 o'clock, kids get out 2:56. We have them come out here down the hallway and meet on the range where one of the instructors will be sitting there with the car like, oh, Susie, Johnny, let's get in the car. We're driving for an hour or 90 minutes. So that becomes important when there's activities and there's sports, there's doctor's appointments, there's all kinds of things going on. So it's really, really important that when the kids get this schedule, that they sign up for dates that meet the need. Now, if they sign up for something and something comes up, we completely understand. But the schedules will be posted in the classroom. We recently started using Google Sheets, kids, students, to plug in our drive. So we'll share a Google Sheet with you that has a schedule for the next 4 or 5 weeks where you plug in your name, and we're hoping you stick to that because we'll send you a message saying, hey, don't forget, you have a drive on Friday at 3 o'clock. So please know that we do drive after school. Completion of drives can be done by 4:30 during the week. Sometimes it could be 5 depending on how many students we have or don't have, but hopefully they don't go too much past 5 o'clock. On weekends, we do start at 9, and sometimes it get done by noon. And we have a second wave of students in the afternoon that'll start 10:30 and go to 12. In some cases, depending on your schedule and the teacher's schedule, the instructor's availability, those drives may go to 4 or 5 o'clock on Saturdays should they sign up for one of those behind-the-wheel drives. So this is kind of important because we have to get these drives done in the semester. Now, the last couple semesters, given what the situation we were in, we had to carry drives over from the previous semester. I can tell you, as we speak today, we still have drives from this time last year for students who didn't get their permit or didn't want to do their drives. So we're a little bit backed up in drives from first semester, last school year, and even second semester. Currently, our summer school students are finishing their drives as we speak. So hopefully by the time August 18th rolls around, we start driving, that there will be plenty of spots available for you guys to start driving and signing up for drives. Okay, so please look at your schedules when you sign up for drives. We will send out plenty of notifications. We send out email notifications to parents, to students, to remind you of upcoming drives. And then once you kind of get a good hang of things, you'll see how it works. But we meet down over here, out these doors, on the driver's ed lot, and you'll see cars there. And we also, if the drive ends at 4:30, we ask students to communicate with the parents, hey, please pick up your child at 4:30. We may have the drive scheduled or the instructor's ready to go home. So please try to abide by these rules or these times so we can make things more efficient for everybody involved. Questions about behind the wheel drives. There's a total of 4 they have to do with us. 4 with us. Okay? If something comes up, you can just start blurting out. All right, back to your dots. Drag your dot, indicate if you have questions or you're ready to move on. There's seats right here in the front. The alligators are put away so they don't bite up here. I'm trying to tell all these cool jokes, nobody's laughing. Oh, my self-esteem, man. Oof. All right, looks like nobody has any questions. Or we got a question. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We kind of have a question, or are we good to go? We're good to go? All right, cool. All right, if you're just now joining us, we have a couple things to do. The first big book is the GDL book. I'm going to highlight the most important things to know out of it. Now, everything's important, but I'm going to go over the highlights. Students, you're 15, and you're going to start driving a car here real shortly. Parent guardian is required by law to be sitting in the passenger seat and have a valid license. Parents have said, well, their sibling who's a junior or senior drove with them. Not good. If the person in the passenger seat is under 21 years of age and they get pulled over, both the driver who's permitted and the person who's under 21 will both get tickets, will both get violations, and that's not good for either person, especially the person who is in the passenger seat, because their insurance may go up for a violation. So please understand the person in the passenger seat must be 21 and have a valid license. I had a student ask me, or a parent say, hey, I'm on a suspended license. Not good. Again, you get pulled over and they find out you're on a suspended license, that person gets ticketed and whatever else comes with it, and the permitted driver will also get a violation. So please understand that the person showing how to drive the passenger seat has to be 21 at least and have a valid driver's license. Somebody said, what about their grandparent? More power to you. If you want to have a grandparent help them out, awesome. 21 or older, valid license. There are the nighttime restrictions. So we have some curfews. Sunday through Thursday is 10 p.m. to 6. They can't drive at 10:15, 10:30 because they're coming home from some event. Can't do it. And then Saturdays and Sundays, the curfew is 11 to 6. As I said earlier, the permit must be held for 9 months. So again, the reason why I got the permit test done, eye exam will get done hopefully by Tuesday. And then once the Secretary of State issues a permit, that's when the 9-month window starts. The 50-hour sheet, you grab that piece of paper in the middle. 40 hours must be done during daytime hours, and 10 of those hours must be done at nighttime. The good thing about being a fall semester student, it starts getting dark September, October, like 5:30, 5:15. So as long as you're able to indicate on this piece of paper that you have that those hours are at nighttime, that's good. Because when you go to get your license at the Secretary of State, you're going to have that piece of paper in your hand to give to them to demonstrate that you completed the 50 hours. So please, I tell kids, put that piece of paper in the car. When you go to drive, sign it, parents sign it, drive, document how long it was, the road conditions, whether it was nighttime or daytime. That way it's in the same spot. If you lose it, I have got 1,000 more copies I can make for you. So please, don't lose that piece of paper, make sure it's in your car. So 50-hour sheet, 9 months, and the person must be a legal guardian to consent to drive in the passenger seat. Questions on that? Yes? Yes, ma'am. One more time.
There's a road ready app that you can put on your phone. Can you use that instead of just writing on a piece of paper?
So I would say no, because I personally had my son last summer take this to the Secretary of State, and I gave birth certificate, all the documentation they needed. So they actually have, I don't know what they do with the paper copies, but those are the copies that the Secretary of State wants us to use. If you're able to print that off and show them, maybe they'll take it, but you can't go wrong with the doc here. This doc, if you look up CyberDrive 50-hour sheet on the internet, it'll come up as a PDF file, and you can actually write on it, but I asked that you save it as a file. I had a student last semester do 45 hours, and she said, I lost it. I'm like, well, go back to your saved files. Well, I didn't save it. I just had it as an open tab. I'm like, oh no. So download the PDF file, type in the PDF file, and just save as, and then once you're done, print it off. That's another way to do it. Most important part here is the last part in red. 7.119 moving violations for any driver. So moving violations pertain to permitted drivers as well as licensed drivers. Biggest thing there is cell phone usage. I tell kids in the car, put it in the trunk, put it in your backpack. if we're doing it behind the wheel drive, kids like to put it in like their sweatshirt pouch or underneath their leg or in the cup holder. It's a huge distraction. And this is where I'm going to go like pound the pulpit, because kids are going to watch their parents. If they watch parents texting and driving, I promise you they're going to pick up those same exact traits. So please be a good mentor, a good parent to your students. Cell phones, got to be hands-free. You can see there for drivers under 19, not at all. It's prohibited. Once you turn 18 or 19, get older, you can have hands-free on a device, like a little cell phone holder. They say except an emergency. They want you to pull over the side of the road if you're a permitted driver, and then you can use your cell phone. You just can't use it while you're driving a car, so please put the cell phone away. Number of passengers limited to 1 in the front seat, and the number of safety belts in the back seat. So if you're going on a long vacation, permitted driver can drive, parent can sit in the passenger seat. If you've got 3 seat belts in the back seat, guess what? You can have 3 people in the back seat. But that permitted or that licensed driver's got to be 21 or older in the passenger seat. Permit is valid for up to 2 years, I told you earlier. And the first bullet there, driving convictions during the 9-month permit, you shouldn't have any moving violations in that 9 months. If you do, the Secretary of State has the right to suspend your license, getting your license until you're 18. So you don't want that, follow the rules of the road, okay? Next phase, so let's moving on. For the first 12 months of getting your license, the number of passengers are limited to 1 person under the age of 20 unless the passenger is a sibling, child, stepchild of the driver. So this one becomes important, like, well, Susie and Johnny are coming home from practice and they have all their teammates in the car. No, not going to work. Limited to 1 person under age of 20, so let's just say it's a sibling in the back seat and another friend in the front seat. Totally good, because they got their license. So 1 person can be in the front seat and then a sibling in the back seat. Now, should they get pulled over, there's more than that. The police officer can probably issue a citation to the licensed driver and possibly the person who's under 21 who may also have their license. So please understand that as the students get older, the graduated license requirements become less and less. Zero tolerance as it relates to alcohol or substances while driving a vehicle or any conviction. So if they have an underage consumption ticket, it's very possible it could affect their driving the requirements. So please try to stay conviction-free, zero tolerance, because it's not me making those rules. It's usually a judge who delivers the instruction. You have a question, ma'am? No? Okay. So zero tolerance as it comes to substances, even while driving a car. So not even driving a car, it's illegal, but definitely when you're not driving a vehicle. I think I mentioned this earlier, ticketed drivers. So anyone 15 to 20 in the car can be ticketed. 2 moving violations of 21 for a period, license will be suspended for 30 days. So again, as you're getting older, if you get 2 convictions, license is suspended for 30 days. We will talk in class what that means. But right now, I will say if you've got moving violations, insurance rates go up. Parents know that. Students, you'll eventually know that. But if you have a moving violation, your insurance rates may go up. And this is not my rule. This is kind of the industry standard when it comes to insurance. Male drivers are more expensive to insure than female drivers. Kids are like, that's not fair. I'm like, wow, insurance companies set the standards, not me. So please try to maintain convictions, moving violations in the 24 months, because it'll avoid a lot of hassle on your part, suspend license, insurance rates going up, and then a lot of odd conversations that you and your parents may or may not be having. So this is this book, this parenting book, the students will get the first day of school. And really, it's pretty much what I just got done saying. We're going to need your help because you need to provide 50 hours of drive time with your child between now and the time they get their license. They don't have to do all 50 hours in the first 2 months of having their permit. There's no expectation there. But at least if you're able to get maybe a drive a week, if possible, 1 every other week, a drive between their behind-the-wheel drives, because that'll reinforce some of the skills we're talking about in class, on the range and simulation. If we drive with them, we're like, hey, you're really braking hard, or your turning radius is a little tight or a little too wide. Practice those skills with your parents at home. Great. So I'm asking you and pleading with you, please practice with them. If you're nervous, please practice in areas that are familiar to you. Like I said, the range, your neighborhood, a parking lot, those are all familiar to you, so you know any obstructions that may be in your area. If you're really, I mean, just going back and forth in the driveway, as silly as that may be, that's totally fine. Do some parking right there in front of your house or where you live. Use side streets, use streets that aren't very, they're not used very often as a way to practice some of those skills. Braking and turning radius, I think I have found to be the most challenging skills for new drivers. And the range is a good spot to learn some of those skills. But they'll get this book, and I will say the same thing in the book that I'm telling you tonight. Okay? Every time a student does a behind-the-wheel drive with us, they're going to get a sheet of paper like this. It's, I don't know, 13 inches long. They're going to have different criteria. Here are all the skills that we're grading. I mean, it's a big, long sheet of paper. This is a communication tool between the instructor, the parent, and the classroom teacher. So if I'm driving with you tonight, and I say, okay, your braking was really hard, your turning was really terrible, I'm going to get those notes on a piece of paper, I'm going to tear off an evaluation sheet, give it to you, hey, take this home to mom and dad, and also show your classroom instructor, because they'll work on those skills during range time, and then parents are aware of what things to be worked on during students behind the wheel drive. So this communication tool, it's a 5-sheet evaluation tool. Each time a kid does a drive, we hand them a piece of paper, and hopefully you'll see progression from drive 1 through drive 4. So you'll get this as a communication tool on the students' drives at Lake Park. Good. Talk about this credit insurance company. If you get good grades, 3.5 or higher, and you complete the driver's ed course, you can turn in your transcripts to your insurance company, and they'll save you about 15 to 20, like something like Geico here, save you 50 to 20%. You'll save between 50 to 20% on your car insurance. So students, a little more incentive there to get good grades because your insurance premiums do go down, and parents know that those premiums are what they are, and they'll jump up astronomically once you have a licensed driver in the household. So kids, make sure you get good grades because that'll help you out for car insurance. Road test. We're almost to the end here, actually. I'm under 45 minutes. Road test. Incentive. So here at Lake Park and some of the schools around the area, the Secretary of State has allowed us to give the final road test to students. This is really important because if you get an A or B in the class and you take your final road test with us, that can be your final road test to demonstrate to the Secretary of State's office, which means once you pass that road test with us and you have an A or B, we're going to give you a piece of paper. It says Illinois Department of Transportation road test. You hold on to that piece of paper in a really, really safe spot. When you go to get your license, you're going to take the road test, your 50-hour sheet, social security card, birth certificate, and completion of this course to the Secretary of State's office. You drop all that paperwork on their desk, like boom, take your picture, get your license, you're out of here. So it's kind of an incentive to make sure that you get the A or B so that road test becomes a valid road test. Let's just say you get a C or a D in the class. That last drive with us then becomes a practice road test. Not a huge deal, because what we do as instructors is we will drive the students on their last drive around the DMV by Schaumburg. Most people go to Schaumburg because it's right here. We follow the same exact route that they're going to do their road test with the Secretary of State's office when they get their license. They have a little bit of an idea of what to expect. So C or D, the last behind the wheel drive is a practice road test with us. And A or B, it is the real road test. If they are not successful in passing the road test, not a big deal. When you go to get your license, you will then do the road test at the Secretary of State's office. The Secretary of State's office also spot checks schools. Let's say you have the A or B. You got all the documentation. You have passed your road test. You go to the DMV's office, I'm ready to get my license. Oh, what's your birthday? Oh, today's 15th. We're giving the road test anybody with a birthday to the 15th. So you're going to have to do the road test on the spot despite passing everything with us. So be prepared should that happen to you. I swear I didn't think it existed until students have come and said, yeah, they gave me the road test again. I'm like, oh no. So please, the incentive there is to get an A or B in the class. We'll give you enough practice here at school and with your parents, so by the time you go to the DMV to either get your license or take the road test there, you're really prepared. A couple automatic failures that the Secretary of State instructs us to make sure that we're doing here is if a student fails to head check, that's an automatic failure. If they fail to signal, automatic failure. If they commit a violation, automatic failure. If they commit a dangerous action or cause an accident, those are some reasons why it would be an automatic failure from the Secretary of State that we're just communicating to students. When I say head check, I mean, it literally is making sure we see the head check, the head turn sideways. And we've had enough practice up until that last road test where we're watching all these skills. And then that last road test, we'll go over like, hey, don't forget, that corner, you need to head check because there's a lane reduction. So we're gonna give plenty of opportunity to be successful in passing that road test. If they're not successful passing the road test, it's not the end of the world. Practice some more. When the real road test comes to the Secretary of State's office, they will then take it there. I've had some really nice phone calls from parents. Why did they fail the road test? I look at the sheet, I'm like, well, this is why. So please practice the skills on that first or second drive and then keep on practicing those skills as you're going through the program. So when you go to take your road test with us, you're successful, and or when you take it with the Secretary of State's office, you are successful. But the sheet of paper you're gonna get after your road test, you gotta keep in a safe spot because we cannot issue another one. I can't tell you how many times a student will say, oh, I passed my road test and be ready to get my license, but I can't find the road test form. I say, well, we can't make copies because it says copy all across it. And the Secretary of State won't take that. So what I tell the students is, go to the DMV, they'll give you the road test. Well, but I don't know who the instructor is. I'm sorry, that's what you have to do. So incentive, A or B in the class, and that final drive with us is the real road test. Questions? What to practice? Smooth stops, hand over hand. I should have mentioned it the whole way through. Hand over hand is a skill that's really, really important. Again, turning radius helps out. I've seen students turn like this. And it's really hard to keep on turning that wheel unless they let go. So I would say that's a huge skill to practice as you're learning. So I usually use, there's a big projector reel in the classroom, and I have the students actually hold it. They could use a paper plate to practice hand over hand. 10-mile-an-hour turns or less. If we're coming off of Lake Street onto a side street, some of those turns are super tight. So please practice turning radius as well as turning speed less than 10 or less. You know what happens if you're going more than that. Put it on two wheels, cross lanes, skid across the road. Mirror usage. I encourage all three mirrors, side mirror and the rear view mirrors. Make sure they're always checking their mirrors. I tell the students, I check my mirrors every 2 to 3 seconds. Check your mirrors. And then head checks. You gotta be doing those head checks, lane changing, lane reduction, all those are important. If they're not doing those skills, then they'll be noted early in the process, and by the time that fourth drive comes, then they should be good to go. These all can be practiced right here on the range. Questions, comments, concerns, sly remarks, conundrums, protests. This is your chance. I know it's really hot here. I guess I can turn the air on. Questions? Come on. Y'all want to go home and watch the basketball game? No. Yes, ma'am.
Do the hours they drive with you count for their 50?
No, because they have to do a total of 6 hours with us. The range and the simulation recoup a couple of those hours, so we'll end up doing 4 drives with us. So a total of 6 hours of drive time will be documented here for Lake Park, and those 50 hours are separate for the parents and guardians. Great question. Great question. Yes, sir.
For sure next week, the eye exam?
Yes, I will be here at 8 o'clock next Tuesday in the driver's ed room, which is, ladies and gentlemen, the driver's ed classroom is down by the gym, 142. I'll be sitting in there. You come in the main doors, tell them, hey, I'm here to take the eye exam. You come to the room, you sit down. If you have glasses, bring them. You'll put your head in the machine, you'll read some letters, you pass. I'll print out the application. I'll sign it, you sign it. If mom and dad or guardian are here, they'll sign it. Bring it back to me, give me a check for $20, and then you're done. And then it's on me to go take it to the Secretary of State's office. But I will be here from 8 to 10 next Tuesday for sure. If you can't make 8 to 10 next week, let me know what time is convenient. I live close by. I'm gonna go here and there. Yeah, if you can't make 8 to 10, just let me know in the email, like, hey, Can you golf this year? You still gonna golf? All right, good. Just let me know what time is convenient, and then shoot me an email or over Google Classroom, and then I literally could be here in seconds. Yeah, just give me like 15 minutes to get out of my jammies. No, but I don't know how the student's going to get here. But if they get here, drop them off. Eventually I'm gonna need your signature. I'm gonna need your signature on that piece of paper. So if they're here in the morning time for the eye exam and they go home and you want to bring the permit application back later in the day, that's fine. Yeah. Question was, does a parent need to be here for the eye exam? No. The answer to that is no. But eventually I'm gonna need a signature and a check for $20 to the Secretary of State or the SOS. Yes, ma'am. No, because I take everything over to the Secretary of State's office. Money order, cashier's check, yeah. Money order, cashier's check. I don't take gold or diamonds, so cashier's check, money order, a cashier's check. It's just sometimes that when we take the stuff to the Secretary of State's office, they kind of give us the weird eye, like, why are you bringing us cash? I'm like, oh, that's what we have. So there have been parents who bring cash sometimes, and I just go ahead and write a check for my own account and then give it to the Secretary of State to kind of bypass any kind of questions from them. So a cashier's check or money order would be totally fine. Yes. I saw something over here, no? I'm imagining things. I will stick around for as long as you want me to, but there are 3 things that you need. One is the GDL book, and I have plenty more sitting there in the box. I have the rules of the road book. On the right side of the table, your left, your right, there are rules of the road books in Spanish, and then in the middle of the table, there are 50-hour log sheets. Those are the 3 things you need. Students, I can see you next Tuesday in 1:42 and 8 a.m. for the eye exam. Please bring your glasses. Thank you. Sorry it was warm. It was less than 45 minutes. We appreciate it. Thank you. Drive safe. Buckle up. Don't text and drive.